Hi, everyone. Buckle up because this is the wildest thing that has ever happened to me. This past weekend was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and in the end, it was. But there was a point where I was convinced my entire wedding was going to go up in flames thanks to one person, my husband's cousin, Cynthia. For context, my husband, Daniel, 30M, and I, 28F, have been together for 3 years. We've been planning our wedding for over a year. Every single detail was carefully chosen. The flowers, the menu, the music, even the seating chart. I am that person who makes a binder for everything, and honestly, it paid off. By the time the big day arrived, everything was going smoothly. Except for one thing. Daniel has this cousin, Cynthia, 33F, who is, how do I put this nicely? She's a hurricane in human form. She drinks too much, says whatever pops into her head, and thrives on being the center of attention. She has started fights at birthdays, stolen the spotlight at graduations, and once got herself banned from a family reunion after throwing a lawn chair into a lake during an argument about potato salad. She is that relative. Naturally, Daniel and I agreed very early in the planning process that Cynthia was not getting an invitation. We didn't want drama at our wedding. Daniel even personally called her a few months ago to explain, as kindly as possible, that it would be a small, intimate event and we were keeping the guest list limited. She didn't take it well. Lots of yelling, some very colorful language, and a vague threat about how family should always be welcome. After that, we honestly didn't hear much from her and figured she'd moved on. Famous last words. The day of the wedding, everything started off like a literal dream. The venue was my parents' garden, and it looked magical. Fairy lights twinkling in the trees, roses everywhere, and the weather was perfect, sunny but with a nice breeze. My best friend and maid of honor, Mia, kept me calm while my mom fussed over my veil and the makeup artist touched up my lipstick. I could hear the guests arriving outside and the soft music from the string quartet. I felt this overwhelming wave of happiness. I remember thinking, nothing can ruin this day. Oh, past me. So naive. Right before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, I heard this loud, drawn-out, "Hello, everyone," echoing across the garden. At first, I thought maybe it was just an excited guest or a kid being silly. But then I heard the collective gasp from the crowd, followed by the unmistakable sound of my now husband muttering, "Oh no." I peeked through the window just in time to see Cynthia, strutting through the gate like she was the guest of honor. She was wearing this absolutely blinding, bright red sequin dress that looked more appropriate for a Vegas nightclub than a wedding. She had on sky-high stilettos she clearly couldn't walk in properly. And, I kid you not, she was carrying a half-empty bottle of champagne that she definitely didn't get from us. The crowd literally parted to let her through. It was like watching someone crash a movie set. People were whispering and staring, but Cynthia was completely oblivious. She loudly announced, "Oh, don't mind me. You guys must have just forgotten to send me my invitation," with this fake little laugh like she was being adorable. Daniel's face turned the color of chalk. "Daniel, Cynthia, what are you doing here?" We talked about this, Cynthia, waving her free hand dramatically. "Relax, Danny boy." I couldn't possibly miss my own cousin's wedding. Family should always be welcome, right? And then she just plopped herself down in the front row. I wanted to scream, but the ceremony was about to start and I couldn't exactly storm out in my dress and drag her away myself. Mia whispered, "Don't let her get to you. Just focus on Daniel," so I tried. Walking down the aisle was surreal. Everyone smiling, the music playing, Daniel looking teary-eyed and handsome at the end. I locked eyes with him and decided to tune Cynthia out completely. It mostly worked. Until halfway through our vows, when I heard her stage whisper to the guest next to her, 3 years of dating? That's barely enough time to know someone. The guest shushed her, but I almost lost it. Still, we pushed through and made it official. When we kissed, there was this beautiful, tender moment, and then Cynthia leapt to her feet and yelled, "Finally!" about time, and started clapping wildly like she was at a sporting event. The photos from that exact second are hilarious and tragic all at once. After the ceremony, Daniel and I had a quick huddle. Me, "We need to do something about her." Daniel, "Let's just get through the reception." Maybe she'll calm down, reader. She did not calm down. The reception was where Cynthia truly unleashed her chaos. It started small. During the best man's toast, she interrupted twice. The second time, she yelled across the tent, "Daniel! Tell everyone about Vegas, the Elvis impersonator story." The best man looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. Daniel looked like he wanted to disappear entirely. Then at dinner, Cynthia cut the buffet line, loaded her plate with every single lobster tail, and left none for anyone else. A little kid started crying because he didn't get one, and Cynthia just patted him on the head and said, "Life's tough, kid." I was internally screaming, but I kept telling myself, just one night. You can survive one night. That illusion shattered when she hijacked the DJ's microphone. We did not have karaoke at this wedding, but suddenly Cynthia is belting out this horribly off-key breakup song, stumbling around the dance floor while the guests sit there in stunned silence. The DJ kept trying to gently take the mic back, but she kept dodging him and yelling, "One more verse!" Finally, we got to the moment I had been looking forward to the most, our first dance. Daniel and I stepped onto the dance floor. The lights dimmed and the music started. It was perfect. For about 30 seconds, then like a villain in a horror movie, Cynthia appeared out of nowhere. Cynthia. This is so boring. Let me show you how it's done. She charged onto the dance floor, champagne sloshing everywhere, and grabbed Daniel's arm. In the process, she almost knocked me over. There was an audible gasp from the crowd. That was it. I was done. I locked eyes with our wedding coordinator, Linda, who, by the way, is a goddess among mortals, and said through gritted teeth, "Get her out." Linda nodded like a soldier heading into battle. Within 30 seconds, 2 very large staff members appeared on either side of Cynthia. Linda. Cynthia, why don't we get you some fresh air and water? Cynthia, thrashing, "You can't kick me out." I'm family. Linda, still smiling politely, "Exactly why we're escorting you out with dignity." Cynthia started screeching. "This wedding is a sham. You'll regret this." The staff physically guided her out as she flailed and yelled. When the gate finally shut behind her, there was this moment of total silence. And then the entire tent erupted into cheers and applause. It was like the final scene in a movie where the villain is finally defeated. The rest of the night? Absolute bliss. The tension vanished, everyone relaxed, and Daniel and I finally had our first dance without interference. People joked about how it would be a wedding story for the ages, and honestly, they're not wrong. The next day, Cynthia posted a 5-paragraph Facebook rant about disrespectful family members and toxic weddings, which was clearly aimed at us. We just blocked her and moved on. Daniel has apologized about 100 times, but honestly, I told him, every bride needs a villain, and I got to literally kick mine out. 10 out of 10 would marry him again. 0 out of 10 would not invite Cynthia to anything again.
Please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one.